If you want to get a job as a beginner developer, you just have to create an amazing resume. But 90% of resumes are just trash. In this video, I will reveal the exact resume that helped me to get my first junior job and my 10K per month senior developer job. I'll cover 3 mistakes that you probably made while creating your own resume and gonna walk you step by step through how to create an amazing resume to get hired today. Hey, my name is Andrew. I'm senior full stack developer. On this channel, I help beginners to start in IT and developers to make more. Let's begin. Sometimes I review resumes of my followers and give them feedback on it. This is a form of volunteering that I like doing from time to time. And most of those resumes are quite bad. But I don't blame people for that, because nobody teaches on how to create a good resume in boot camps, universities, courses, and a lot of people just create them intuitively or based on some really random and generalized examples from Google. And the funny thing is that it takes less than an hour to get your resume right, and it will serve you for your whole life. For example, I, as a senior developer, created my own resume over 4 years ago, and I still use the same template, the same structure. I just slightly adjust my experience and a couple of sections, but overall this is almost the same resume that I used when I was applying for my first job. And most of the mistakes that people are making around their resumes are related to one of those 3 areas: template, content, or approach. And today I prepared this simple 3-step framework that will teach you how to create an amazing resume to stand out in today's competitive market. A long time ago, people were creating their resumes in Word. I believe some people still do that. But unfortunately now you won't be able to impress anyone with such a resume. But luckily you don't have to be good at design or hire a professional designer to design your resume. As of now, there are hundreds of free tools that are available online that allow you to build beautiful, nice resumes literally in seconds. And to find your own template, you just type in the Google resume builder, you go through a couple of websites and you try to find the template that fits all of the rules that we're gonna cover within this video. Most of those websites are completely free and it should be pretty easy to find the template that's gonna fit you. Definitely not select the very first template from the very first page. You can potentially type also resume builder for developer. And it will allow you to find templates a little bit more tailored for programming world. To help you to define that, I prepared some bad and good templates for you, so you can clearly see the difference between them. First of all, let's start with 2 bad templates that aren't necessarily super bad, but there are a couple of things that you definitely need to change about them. The first one is this one. So overall, this is not the worst template, but it has a couple of cons. The first one is that you can see there are a lot of empty space here below. You don't want to have a lot of empty space in your resume, as it just means that you don't have a lot of things to say about yourself, which is quite bad. You should at least fill out 1 whole page. Secondly, 30% of the top space are occupied by the photo, which is not needed in the resume, and huge description without any bold text that nobody is going to read. Moreover, the skills section is not divided by categories, and for example, you have eagerness to learn new technologies, and right under it you have fundamentals of JavaScript and HTML. First of all, those are 2 different types of skills. This is a soft skill and this is a technical skill that should be divided separately. Moreover, putting such a skill in your resume is not the best idea. Moreover, eagerness to learn new technologies is not the skill that you want to talk a lot about, and definitely not listed as the first skill in the skills section. In the employment history, it has once again a lot of empty space that could have been filled with useful information. Moreover, nice thing is that this text is divided into bullets, but in those bullets there are no numbers and no bold text, so there is nothing to catch attention of the recruiter, and I would rather ignore this resume. And if you're gonna switch to this mid-career type of this resume, once again, the bad thing about it is that you have these unnecessary bullets that rate your skills with like Python, Java, SQL, etc. And those bullets are completely useless, and never put them near your knowledge of programming languages, because those bullets are just subjective. You are saying that you know SQL on 10 out of 10. What does it exactly mean? I mean, when you talk about languages, potentially you can put some bullets there, because English can be rated with like B1, B2, C1, C2, etc. But programming languages cannot be rated by bullets. So this is absolutely useless information that takes extra space. So you should never put those bullets near your programming language knowledge. Let's have a look at, first of all, at my CV or resume. We're gonna break it down deeper in a bit, but you can see it minimalistic. Your photo or name is not occupying half of your text. It has all of the necessary sections, and it starts with your highlights like education, skills, experience, and projects. But we're gonna break it down deeper in a bit. Another good example of the resume is this one. I mean, the background color is subjective. I would personally prefer a white one, but I like that it has this highlight color of orange. It definitely catches an eye. Together with those icons, it has some bold text to highlight the most important things, which is also nice. It has the project with bullets and with some bold text for important things, which is also nice. I don't fully like those description sections because it will be really hard to read and nobody gonna read it, but those bullets are definitely nice, so I would just replace those description section with more bullets if needed. And I would also add the skills section there for sure, but beside that, looks quite interesting. Okay, you selected your very first template, but before moving on, you need to understand who will be actually reading your resume. And usually, especially if you apply for bigger companies, in the first stages of recruitment, nobody even reads your resume, but it's getting scanned by the ATS system. In simple words, ATS is the special software that will scan your resume and define how likely you'll be a good fit for the selected position. Moreover, those systems sometimes can rank candidates from top to bottom, and recruiters will only check out the resumes of top candidates. So make sure that the template that you're gonna select is ATS friendly and it can properly scan all of the text from it, all of the skills, all of the sections, and properly rank you for the selected job. And scanning your resume with ATS Scanner is super simple. You just type in the Google ATS Scanner. Once again, I'm not giving you the exact tools because the tools might change with the time, so I want to teach you how exactly to do that. So you just type in the Google ATS Scanner, you open any of those websites, they all should be quite good. So for example, let's click on this one. Some of those tools are paid, but they are not super expensive, so I believe this investment worth it. And let's press scan your resume here. I'm gonna upload mine. Here you can paste the job description to check how your resume gonna fit this job description. Here I found some random job description from Indeed. So let's just copy that and paste it there. Let's press scan. It asks us to register, and you can see we got the score with some suggestions on what to improve and what to change. And based on those things, you can already tailor your resume to make sure it fits better the job description. Of course, don't fully rely on the score, and if it suggests to do something, but you feel that doing that it's not the best idea, don't do that, because you need to understand that in next stages, your resume is going to be checked by actual humans, and it also should make sense for them. But it's a good starting point to at least make sure that your template is ATS friendly. So you can see the formatting here is perfect. So it has the proper font size, font colors, and everything is great here. Of course, we are not fully matching the soft skills and the hard skills for the job description, but that's already a different thing to do that we're gonna talk about in a bit. Okay, if you got the ATS step right and you applied for this job early, because if the job was posted a couple of weeks ago, even if you're gonna apply now, most likely nobody will even check your position because they already have a couple of candidates whom they are selecting. But if you applied for the job early and got the good ATS score, your resume is going to be checked by an actual human. Usually it's either a recruiter or hiring manager and a developer before a technical interview if you're gonna get to the stage of the technical interview. In case of smaller companies, your resume is gonna be checked by the actual CEO of the company, owner, maybe CDO, because in smaller companies there are usually no hiring manager. And to impress all of those people, you need to fill out your resume with the right content. Did you know that on average the manager spends somewhere from 7 to 9 seconds reading your resume? So if it starts with 3 paragraphs about your life, you already lost. When you understand that you have less than 10 seconds to impress someone with your resume, the approach that you take while filling out the content completely shifts. So always keep in mind that you have less than 10 seconds to impress someone, and when putting one on another section, think twice before actually putting it. Okay, let's now break down step by step each section that you need to have within your resume, what to put there and how to put it. And of course I can give you the exact sentences, the exact text, the exact numbers to put in your resume, but in that case you won't understand why you're putting those things there. And although you're gonna get the resume right, you're still gonna mess up it during the self-presentation on the actual interview, because your resume is just a condensed form of your self-presentation that you're gonna have to do anyway on the interview. So instead of giving you the exact solution, I want to teach you how to craft your resume, and that skill will serve you for your whole life and help you to properly present yourself on the job during interviews and even in life. So let's go through each section step by step. The first one here is your contact information. There you just put your name, your email address, your phone number, potentially you can put your location, and definitely GitHub and LinkedIn profiles. Make sure that those links are clickable. So if I'm gonna click on that, it's gonna take me to the LinkedIn, and this link should take me to the GitHub. Of course, make sure that your GitHub and LinkedIn profiles are well organized and packed, and packaging of your GitHub and LinkedIn is a topic for another video. All right, this was the easy part. Now we are getting to the actual content of your resume. As an example, I'm using similar content that I used myself when I was applying for my first job, and the same one that I used when I was applying for a senior 10K per month position. I slightly changed the content to make sure that it fits beginners, but this template also works for experienced programmers as well. And the only difference, if you're an experienced developer, you say more about your experience and less about your projects, because your most important projects are within your actual experience. And before getting to individual sections, I want to first of all explain you the importance of numbers within your resume. Since we have just 7 to 9 seconds to catch an attention and to make the recruiter consider us for the position, we need to give something super valuable within those 7 to 9 seconds. And I think the best industry to learn from on how to catch an attention are magazines, because they exist for years, they hire best people, and they definitely know how to catch your attention with their cover to make sure that you buy their magazine, that you read it, and that it builds some curiosity. So I got a couple of examples. Let's say, for example, this Women's Health magazine. This is one of the most popular women's magazines. And of course, these days magazines are not that popular as they were before, but human psychology stays the same. So what we can learn from this magazine? Of course, we cannot make the CV exactly like that with a lot of catchy colors and catchy sizey images, but important thing to pay attention to here are numbers. So you can see just on one page we have 1, 2, 3 different catchy numbers, like 1 to 3 ABS, 25 quick recipes, 6 sex secrets. Those numbers are catching our attention and make us read the text before it or after it. Another example here. 30 power foods so yummy, so slimming. $50. It catches my attention and then I read the text. Sexy suits. Wow, sexy suits for $50. Insane deal. 2 weeks. Then I check, okay, 2 weeks. What 2 weeks? Bikini body in 2 weeks. Wow, that sounds amazing. Bikini body in just 2 weeks. I've been going to gym for 3 years and I still don't have bikini body. 1 for him, 2 for you. What? Orgasms. Wow, that's cool. So you can see those numbers are catching our attention and make us read the text more. Even this Let's Catchy magazine title has a couple of numbers like 28 days, 4 p.m. And you should use the same concept for your resume. You should add some catchy numbers. You shouldn't put too many of numbers, but if you can find some good numbers to say about you, like your project, your experience, your education, you should definitely put it and highlight it with a bold text. Now let's talk about education. Usually your resume is divided into 2 columns. The smaller column for like your education, skills, and the second column for your projects and experience. But there are different templates, so your layout might slightly differ from this one. Within your education section, you put all relevant education to programming industry. So if you learned how to be an electrician somewhere in the university, it's not the best idea to put it in your programmer's CV, because this is not the relevant education, but all relevant education should go here. So if you have university, academy completion, or you did some other bootcamps or courses, you should put them here. Also here you can put some certifications or examination that you did if you did any. And if you have some catchy numbers, you can add them there as well. So for example, if you had a high GPA, you can add it. If we're talking about university, in case of courses, you can, for example, say that you became a top 3% student, or your completion score of the final test is 97%, let's say. So some catchy numbers that you can add them here. If you don't have them, you can add those numbers to, for example, your experience and projects. But if you have something fancy to say about your education, you can do it here. Within the skills section, you should definitely list all of your skills, and skills usually divided into a couple of categories like programming skills, languages, and soft skills. And the programming skills itself should be divided into a couple of categories to make it easier to read. So if, for example, you know both front-end and a little bit of the back-end, you can mention that front-end and all of the technologies that you know within the front-end. Then you can mention the back-end, separately version control, like Git and GitHub. And you can also mention the tools that you used and know. For example, Jira for task management or VS Code for development. When mentioning languages, you should definitely mention the level, like C1, B2. If it's your native language, you can just mention native in the brackets. And for the soft skills, this is an optional section. So if you have some space in this column, you can add it. But some people say that this is not the best idea to add it because those soft skills are not super relevant. Moreover, those are just filler words that doesn't mean anything. Like, what exactly does it mean that I'm a leader? What exactly does it mean? So I feel that you don't have to add those things, but if you have some empty space and you want to mention some of your nice soft skills, like team player, you can mention it here. The last section here, I call it leadership, but in general, we can call this section as an extra highlights section. So there you should mention everything nice, extra that you can say about yourself that can differentiate you from the masses. Like, for example, you can mention your activity within programming industry and programming community. Like you're attending 10 offline meetups and 3 online international conferences about React and JS. You can even attach like your LinkedIn post that talks about how you attended those events here. Or let's say you were using some other platforms to study, like LeetCode or CodeWars. So you can mention that you solved over 200 JavaScript katas on the CodeWars and mention like your rating on this platform. Another cool thing that you can mention here is, for example, you helped other person to learn programming and to explain some simple concept to this person. Let's say like your brother started learning programming and you helped him to learn something. So you can say that you mentored one beginner junior developer and helped him to learn React in 3 months. And I know probably not a lot of you mentored other people, so I want to give you an example of what I was saying in my resume in this section when I was just starting out. And as you might know, before becoming a programmer, I was working as a barista in the coffee shop, and I decided to mention it in my resume, but I did it in a nice way that not represents me as a barista, but represents me as the person who knows how to have experience with running a coffee shop. I was responsible for managing. Of course, I didn't mention that I was cleaning tables, serving coffee, or cleaning toilets, but I mentioned 9 things that I learned on this job, like hiring people and interviewing people, and those skills later helped me on my programming job to learn how to properly run interviews and to interview developers. With time, when you're gonna get more experience and you're gonna have some highlights from your actual job, you can replace this section. But if you're a complete beginner and you have only non-programming related experience that taught you some important skills, you can mention them here within the section to represent yourself in a nice way. So if you want to say something nice within this section, definitely start participating in like online meetups, offline meetups, some maybe events, hackathons. Consider contributing to open source projects, to mention it here as well. It's definitely not an easy thing to do, but can be a good highlight about yourself. And we are slowly getting to 2 last most important sections of your resume. These are experience and your projects. First of all, let's talk about projects, and then we're gonna move to experience. And creating a good description and good structure of your projects within your resume is one of the most important things, especially if you're a complete beginner without a lot of experience. Because your projects is the only thing that proves how good you are what you're capable. Because nobody cares what skills you wrote here within the skills section, because everyone can write literally everything there. And only your projects actually prove that you know those skills, and then you can properly use those skills on the job in real world projects. The first thing to start with within your project description is the name of your project. Instead of using the made-up name that you gave to this project, we should use the descriptive name. So the name that kind of describes what your project is about. For example, travel planning application, instead of just saying the travel or whatever you called it. Next to the title, you need to put 3 really important links. And this is something that not a lot of people are doing, and putting those links can really help you to stand out, because if you analyze your whole CV from the top, you'll see that those links are actually catching an attention. The first link is video. This is 1 to 3 minute video that you can record with having your camera in the right bottom corner like I have right now. And in this video, you just need to walk through Recruiter over your project. You can show what you have within your project, how it works, what functionalities it have. It doesn't have to be edited. You can use, for example, a tool called Loom for that. But this video will do 2 really important things. First of all, it will show Recruiter how you look, how you talk, and how you're able to present information. And just by having this video, you're already gonna pass kind of freak tests, because nobody wants to hire freaks. You can show that you can concisely present the information, you can nicely talk, and you're looking like a normal person essentially. There is a lower chance that the recruiter is gonna actually click through your website or application that you created, and even less likely gonna check the GitHub of this project. With this video, you'll be able to present what you're capable of creating and catching attention. And you can post this video either on YouTube or LinkedIn and give a link to this video here to your resume. The second link is website, so it should be hosted version of your application. So recruiter can actually click around your application, see how it works, what it does, and what it's capable of course, if you have such a link. And lastly, it's GitHub, so it should be a link to the GitHub with the source code to your application. Of course, make sure that this repository that you're adding here is well organized, it has nice description, some images, screenshots, and overall the code quality there is also quite good. And now we're getting to the description of our project. I recommend using this simple but powerful strategy on structuring your project description. First of all, you should definitely have bullets, because it's way easier to read text that is divided into bullets rather than reading the huge paragraph of sentences. And you just need 3 bullets. So the first bullet should explain what this project is about and what it does. So, for example, a web application that allows users to organize trips, manage budgets, destinations, and packing lists, while also securely storing essential documents and photos. So we just explained what our application is about, but also we added some nice words like securely, that says that we also care about security in our application. Second bullet should describe what technologies you used for this project, and once again, that kind of gonna prove that you're able to use those skills that you listed in the skills section in the actual project. And the third bullet should describe some highlights and some cool things or things that you're proud of in this project. And ideally, it should also use some nice and fancy numbers. So you can, for example, say, manage to create a scalable folder structure, secure database design, and build the project from scratch within 3 weeks, although it was my first experience working with Firebase. Then, if you have a couple of nice things to say about this project and you have some space left in your resume, you can add as many bullets as you want. I don't recommend going about like 6 or 7, and each of those next bullets should describe some highlight about this project what you did, what problem you solved, what you managed to do, what you achieved. So another example, implemented an AI suggestion system that speeded up the trip creation process by 40%. And when writing those highlights, make sure to use action verbs like implemented, created, developed, structured, improved, optimized, and so on. So once again, 3 bullets about the project, technologies, and your main achievements and main thing that you did. When writing those main achievements, use strong words or action verbs like implemented, managed, created, improved, and highlight catchy numbers and important words. And lastly, let's talk about the experience section. I believe that even as a beginner, you have to have some experience, and you need to get your first experience before even getting your first job. How to actually do that is a topic for another video, but now let's break down how to write down your experience properly. Of course, you start with the name of the actual company or the project that you worked on. As an example, I used my coding learning application that allows people to learn front-end development from scratch that we are currently building. And I use the actual things that we did within this application as an example of an experience that you can use to impress the recruiter. Since most likely the code of the application that you built on the job is hidden and you cannot share it in your resume, here I got 2 links, just the video and the website. So this is the website to this application that you can check out, zacode.io. And the video can be actually the same video where you can just walk the recruiter through the things that you did within this project. Of course, make sure the things that you share in this video are not behind an NDA contract or you're gonna have some problems. But if it's like your own company or your own startup, let's say, you can share whatever you want there. Then you need to write down for how long you have been working in this project and when you started and when you finished. If you have not finished, you can say present, and you can specify the location. So if it was in the office, you can specify the country in the city. If it was remotely, you can just say remote. Now we use really similar bullets that we did for the projects. So we start with the description about the project, what it does. Then you mention what technologies you used on this job, and then you mention as many bullets as you can with the main highlights and main achievements that you achieved on this job. Once again, with the usage of strong verbs like created, implemented, built, improved. And for every bullet, I recommend using the following structure. So you say what you did with the action verb, and then you say so what. For example, created fast animated games with React and Framer motion. And I'm asking like, so what? So users can interactively learn concepts. And you can even attach video example recorded like with Loom once again, where you show exactly what you did and how it works and how it looks like. Another example, build a caching system that reduces the number of API requests by 30%. It's not answering the question, so what, but it has this fancy 30% number, and it should be clear enough that reducing the number of API requests is a good thing. But if you want, you can also say to reduce the cost of our API. Another example, implemented payment functionality leveraging Stripe elements, so we got the payment system up and running in 1 day instead of 1 week. So same thing, you say what you did, so what, so we got the payment system up and running in 1 day instead of 1 week, which is also a cool achievement that you can highlight. And the more catchy things and nice things you can mention in your resume, the sexier it's gonna look for the recruiter. Now let's finalize the most important things to keep in mind while creating your very first resume. Add contact, education, skills, highlights, projects, and relevant experience sections. Use numbers and bold text to catch the attention and show your value in just 10 seconds. Create a good description for your projects and experience with 3 links, video, website, and GitHub. And last pro tip, use spell checkers like Grammarly to make sure that you have no grammar or spelling mistakes in your resume. Because just one small typo makes your resume look unprofessional immediately. You got the template, you got the content, now it's time to talk about the actual approach. And not a lot of people talk about approach when talking about resumes. Because even if you're gonna have a perfect content and the perfect template, if you're gonna use your resume in a wrong way, it won't still work well. First of all, when applying for jobs, instead of just pressing apply button on the website, make sure to reach out directly to recruiters, to managers via email or LinkedIn, or try to get the reference or in touch with someone from the company and ask them to pass your resume directly to the person who is responsible for hiring. Those direct reach outs are not easy to do, but it will maximize the chances of your resume to be checked by an actual human. And then if you have the good content and good template, you have a good chances of actually landing an interview. Second thing is make sure to personalize your resume for almost every job. Initially, it will be really hard and gonna take a lot of time, but with time, you're gonna have like 5 to 10 different versions of your resume, and personalization will not be taking a lot of time from you. As we discussed previously, sometimes ATS system might check how likely you'll be a good fit for the position. And this system works pretty simply. It checks the job description and requirements and compares if you have all of those requirements in your resume. That's why when applying for jobs, if you see some kind of technology or thing that you don't actually know, Google about this technology. If it's not super complex, like let's say new UI library that you don't know, still add this library to your resume and send this resume to this company. While you're gonna be waiting for the response, you can go through a couple of crash courses or maybe even create a super small project. So the fact that you put this technology in your resume will be actually true. Of course, never lie and never say that you have thousands of years of experience with this technology, but on the interview, if you're gonna land it, you can say that you did a small project with this technology, that's why you put it there. Nobody gonna blame you for that. But having more relevant to the position technologies will increase your chances of actually being selected. So to sum up, there are two things to remember about the approach that you take when sending out your resume to companies. First one is to reach out directly to company managers, hiring managers, recruiters, maybe even CEO or CDOs if this is a small company, or maybe just to someone from the company whom you know, to make sure that your resume is actually going to be passed to an actual human who's going to actually check it. It won't be easy and will take some time to get some context from the company, but it will significantly increase your chances. And second thing is to personalize your resume per job description to make sure that it matches it as close as possible. A good resume will help you to land your very first technical interview. But to get this job, you're gonna need to pass this interview. That's why in this video that you'll see somewhere here, if it's already published, I break down the biggest mistakes every programmer makes on the interview based on 100+ interviews that I conducted throughout my career. So see you there.